Motor, J Motor, J Motor, J Motor, recognize Heckler House, Heckler House. Oh, 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 oh.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. Now, this past coming week, this is Monday, I haven't seen anything major going on in the news. We're still talking about Iran, and apparently Trump has made a peace deal with them. Whether they take it or not, who knows. But it'll limit them from making nukes. They're nuts. They're like attacking all their neighbors and shit, killing people, and you have all these liberals, leftists, like supporting them. It's crazy. All they can focus on is, and it's a distraction. Israel, Israel, Israel. You know, it's so stupid, so lame. Tired of hearing that Israel crap. Who cares? Iran's got to go. They're terrorists. They kill people for sport. Islam is an evil religion who tells all its followers to kill infidels. Those who do not convert to Islam must die. It literally says it in the Quran that they follow. It's an evil cult. It's not a cult. It's not a cult of peace. It's a cult of death. But anyways, moving on. I don't think I've seen anything as far as entertainment wise. I don't remember seeing anything major entertainment wise. I think this year's going to suck for entertainment. I don't think there's anything really good coming out anyone really wants to watch or is like anticipating to getting excited about or anything like that. Just didn't see anything. But yeah, there's nothing going on right at this point in time. Like I said, I usually do these videos on Monday, and then I post them Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I try to post a video. So keep an eye out for that. I'm pretty consistent. Let's get to talking what I really want to talk to you about. So I've said before on my previous videos, I've got a lot coming down the pipeline. I've got several shows that a few I've watched that I need to get out on review on. And then I got a few I'm working on now. I'm working on The Incredible Hulk, and I'm working on, because I've never seen the whole series, so I'm working on it. And I'm working on a show called Roar with Heath Ledger. I don't know if you've heard of that. I'm working on that one right now. I watch like several different shows at once, and then I do reviews on them. So as I've said before, even if you don't watch the channel regularly, and you've only seen a couple videos or you don't watch it at all, it only takes 2 seconds to hit that subscribe button. It doesn't affect you or your channel whatsoever. It just helps this channel grow. So please subscribe. Also, I have another channel. It's called Easy Does It. The link is in the About section. Check it out if you like gaming vlogs and reviews and reactions to other YouTube channels. Okay. Again, subscribe. This next one is an anthology series. Now, I'm not a big fan of anthology series. Not that I don't mind watching them. It's just as far as doing for the channel. And, you know, I did the anthology series Monsters a while back. But you have to do it per episode because, it's separate. All the episodes are separate stories, so they don't all mesh with the entire series. So you have to do them per episode. So what I usually do is I'll watch like 4 episodes and then I'll do a review on them. And that's the way I'm going to do this. And it's going to take a while to get through this because there's 3 or 4 versions of this show throughout the time, history, or whatever. The first show, I'm not sure how long. I'll have to look it up eventually. Not sure how long it went on for. It went on for a little bit, and most of it was in black and white before it became color. And that, of course, is the Twilight Zone. So the Twilight Zone, it's going to take a while to get through all of them, because then you have the 1980s version, then you have the 90s version, and then you have the 2000 version. I'm not sure I'm going to watch 2000 version. I think that's when they started getting all woke and shit. But wokeism is dying. That's probably the biggest thing I saw in the news, is that all these companies and they're killing all the woke crap. They're getting rid of it. Even the UK is trying to bounce back. They're trying to get rid of the woke crap. But they got to fix that whole arresting people just because they call you an asshole or something. It's fucking retarded. But anyways, moving on. Okay, so episodes 1 through 4 of the Twilight Zone. The first one is called Where Is Everybody? You basically have this guy who's wandering around a ghost town, a 1950s, 60s type ghost town. Like at the very beginning, he comes off the road and he's walking on, he's confused, and then he goes into this diner, cafe. They used to have a lot of them on the side of the road back in the day, not so much anymore. Anyway, he walked in there and there's nobody there, but the kettle's on. It looked like someone had been baking pies. So he's got a fresh cup of coffee and everything, and he's going around. And he's yelling, where is it? Is there anybody here? What's going on? And he does that throughout the entire episode. Is anybody here? He's constantly shouting that out for the entire episode. Anyways, he's all like, I got $2 and some odd cents, And I'm like, holy shit. That must have been something else to be able to walk around with $2 and something and get a meal and a drink and shit, at a cafe. But times have really changed. Anyways, he has one scene where he's literally got to walk up to the camera, and he almost breaks third person because even though he's not actually looking straight at the camera, he's screaming the title of the episode, Where Is Everybody? And you just tell it was all purposely done. But anyways, Yeah, so he starts flipping out because he can't get find anybody in the town. He goes to the main part of town, and he's on the phone. He's screaming over the phone at an automated operator, and he's losing his wig. And then at the very end of the episode, he wakes up. Uh, Come to find out, he's in a deprivation chamber, a little box for the military. They come in and check on him. He's been in here for a few days or some shit. And he's doing it because he's training to be an astronaut. And he's probably going to be in a capsule by himself for a few days. So that's the whole episode. And the episode, Rod Sterling comes on and starts talking about isolation and shit, But there's some people who can handle that shit. Yeah, there are some who can't. But anyways, it was just an experiment. Okay. The next episode was called Out for the Angels was the title of the episode, but it was about what they call a pitch man, which is basically a salesman, a street salesman. Anyways, Death comes to visit him and tells him it's his time. Well, the guy's all like, well, there's got to be some way out of this, blah, blah, blah. I'm not ready to go. And Death tells him about these 3 policies that he has. Under special circumstances, if the case relates to one of these 3, he may make a deal with him. Well, on the 3rd one, I can't remember exactly what the policy was. Something, you gotta do something extraordinary or some shit like that. Eventually, like, not at that point in time, but eventually in your life you're going to do something extraordinary, so he won't take you right away. So the salesman guy, or the pitch man, whatever you want to call him, he says, well, I got to make this amazing pitch before I die. So Death lets him slide. And why is Death always, in the older shows and stuff, Death is always like dressed like a businessman, and he talks like a businessman. You don't see that in the newer shows. Death is always some fucked up looking ghoul or whatever. Anyways, he tells the pitchman that in order to do that, he has to have someone take his place. So he says, I'll take that little girl over there. There's a bunch of kids that come and visit the pitchman all the time. He's very fond of them, especially this one particular little girl. He says, I'm going to take her in your place, which freaks out the pitchman. He's like, you can't do that. She hasn't lived her life, blah, 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 blah. This is a story that's been told many times. So the pitchman does this pitch on Death, and then he says, well, I pitched the crazy pitch ever. He says, now you gotta let the girl go, and I'll come with you. And Death says, okay. And that's the end of the episode. He goes with Death. Saves the girl. Now the next episode was called Mr. Denton on Doomsday. You have less like the old West town, and this guy's down on his luck. He's become the town drunk, and he used to be like this high-profile gunslinger. And now they just make fun of him. There's an old peddler. He always sells knickknacks and junk and, like fake bottle cures and shit like that. He rolls into town and he finds his gun in the middle of the street when he's laying there after they don't really beat up on him or anything. They just push him around. He gets knocked down. He sees his gun in the middle of the road and he picks it up. And next thing you know, he's like a trick shot. He can do like crazy ass shooting. He says, "Oh gosh, it's gonna start up again. The word's gonna get out, and there's gonna be gunslingers, young gunslingers. They're gonna try to make a name for themselves by coming and killing the old champion gunslinger, famous gunslinger." And sure enough, someone shows up and they get into it and they both shoot their guns out of their hands. Well, the doctor goes and says, "Well, you're not going to be able to use a hand anymore, so you won't be able to shoot guns anymore." And that ends Denton's career before it even got started up again. But he gets with a whore and decides, "Oh, I'm going to live a happy life, not having to shoot guns anymore or be a gunslinger. I feel so much better," and he gets rid of the alcohol, stops drinking. And then on the other side, which you don't expect, the young gunslinger, he's told he can't use his hand anymore, his gun hand anymore. So he goes to find something else to do rather than become a famous gunslinger, saving, him becoming like Denton. So, and then at the end, you see Denton giving a nod to the guy called Fate, which is the peddler. And Fate gives him a nod and takes off out of town. That's the end of the episode. And the fourth one is called the 16mm Shrine. Okay, so with this episode, it's about a woman who was a famous actress, but she's gotten old and time has passed and nobody really, pays attention to her anymore. She's locked herself in her room where she's watching, it's in the dark, she's watching her own movies over and over again. She's become like a hermit, a recluse, and she has loved ones who keep trying to get her out, get her about and do other things, but she don't want to. She wants to stay stuck in the past when she was beautiful and famous, and she lives alone. She never got with anyone, got married or whatever. She's old, she's bitter, she doesn't like the fact that she's gotten old and nobody cares about her movies anymore. There's one point in the episode where this guy tries to get her a part in the movie, but she's got to play an older woman like a mother or something. She's all like, "Fuck that, I don't do mothers and I don't do older women," even though she's old. But anyways, so she makes this wish in her study or whatever where she's watching these movies, and she does it over and over until she's finally in her own film. Like, she gets transferred to her own film. A couple of the people that care for her, they notice what's happened. They get it. So they just, they leave her be, let her stay in the film, and then they pack shit up. And that's the end of the episode. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's some feminist shit right there. Growing old alone and then wishing to be somewhere else or doing something. Whatever. But that was the end of that episode. Now, the first 3 episodes were okay. I didn't get the whole deprivation chamber thing. I thought it was kind of silly. Him in a town like that, you know, just he makes up a town, he's lost in it, and I don't know. The second one, the story's been told before. I don't know if it's been told before Twilight Zone, but you know, I've heard a similar story before. It's not new, but it was still okay. The third one with the gunslinger, okay, I get it, but it wasn't really. I'm not really. If you've ever watched my channel, you know I'm not a big fan of westerns. It was alright. But that fourth one was just terrible. I hated that. It was god awful. Old woman crying over spilt milk. Not wanting to face the fact that she's gotten old. It was dumb. But anyways, they were okay. I give them all a thumbs up and a thumbs down. The last one was dumb, but the other 3 were okay. So check it out if you want. Okay. I'll have another 4 for you next time I watch it. I'm trying to watch them 4 at a time, like I did with the Monsters anthology. We'll see how it goes. Let's get on to your B-movie reviews. Okay, movie holics. Let's get on your B-movie reviews. This week is Action Week. And I just went with a couple of older Mel Gibson movies. Both were done like, well, one was done in the 80s, the other was 90s. I just seen something and I was all like, well, I'm not sure if I've seen that. So I figured I'd go ahead and watch it, and I was like, I'll do another Mel Gibson movie that's not like real super well known or whatever. So the first one I did or watched was called Ransom. Now this was done in 1996 and it made about $309 million worldwide. His co-star was Rene Russo. They play a wealthy family that's they own an airline business. I forget what it was, but they're like the fourth and the largest in the world or some shit. Anyways, their son gets kidnapped by a crooked cop and three of the degenerates he knows. Now, throughout the movie, through most of the movie, they're kind of having this, I don't know, exchange back and forth. Gary Sinise plays the dirty cop who's running the whole kidnap thing. He thinks he's going to pay him, so they're constantly bantering back and forth over this phone that's been, where the voice is manipulated or whatever. But at some point in time, Mel Gibson, they botch it once, and they kill one of the kidnappers or whatever. But the kidnapper didn't know about what Gary and Mel talked about, which was one of the kidnappers was Mark Wahlberg. Anyways, they killed him. The FBI killed him before they could get any information out of him. So the drop went bad, the first drop. So Mel's all like, fuck it, you know what? Screw you. I'm not paying you a dime. You're going to give me my son back, or you can just go fuck yourself. You're not getting any money. So he goes to the media and then says, hey, you see all this fucking money, and they show paying it, and they show all the money. It's like a couple million. It's like, you're not going to see fucking shit of this money. It's like, instead, I'm putting this as a bounty on your fucking head. Someone brings your head to me, dead or alive, they get this reward. Which pisses Gary off, so he tries to push him even further, and Mel goes back on fucking goes back on air with the media and says, now I'm going to double it. You done pissed me off. You give me back my son, or you will be hunted down to the ends of the earth. Which Gary flips out, so he turns on his partners towards the end, to where he's the only one left. He makes it look like he saved the boy. But the boy he comes to get his reward money, and the boy triggers Mel and lets him know, hey man, that's I'm not gonna, you have to watch the movie to figure out how he does it, but he lets him know, hey Dad, that's the main guy. I could tell. So Mel gets him out of the house. They figure it out. Gary figures out that he knows who he is. So Gary and him get out of the house. They go to the bank. He says, I just want you out of this house, away from my son. He says, we can go to the bank and still get your money. Nobody knows except for us. So they go to the bank. Well, the FBI figures out that the main guy, the head of the operation, obviously is still around. So they figure out that he's with them, and they show up and they get they get in a kind of a firefight, and they shoot him dead, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. It wasn't a bad movie. It was all right. I didn't like the fact that they waited till like the last 15 minutes of the movie before they, were going at it. You know, it was just, most of the movie was just them bickering back and forth over the phone. It was okay. It was worth a one-time watch. I give it a thumbs up, thumbs down. Check it out if you want. The next one I watched was something called Payback, and it was done in 1999. So I guess they're both done in the. I thought one was done in the 80s, but they're both 90s movies. So 1999, it made about 161 mil worldwide. Now, his co-star in this is Maria Bello. Basically, he plays like this gangster is what he plays. Like an Italian gangster, but he's not Italian. He's got to deal with some group called, I can't remember what he called them, some kind of syndicate. He kept calling them a syndicate through a gangster mob organization. So he gets with this one guy. He's supposed to be a buddy of his. And his buddy needs so much money to get back into the syndicate. Now, Mel doesn't care to be a part of that syndicate anymore. He left. His character's name is Porter. So Porter doesn't want to be a part of that syndicate anymore. But the guy gets with his wife and betrays him and shoots him in the back, what his wife does. And then they take off with the money. They stole some money from I don't know if they're Chinese or whatever they are. They stole from another group some money. It was like $140,000. Well, he takes off, his buddy takes off with the money and leaves him for dead with his wife. And then he survives. He doesn't die. He got shot in the back, but he survives. So he comes back later and he's looking for him so he can get his money. And he don't want the whole 140. He just wants 70,000. He's like, I just want my share. So he's going around, he's killing all these syndicate people to try to get his money. His wife dies in an OD. He had wasn't really a girlfriend really per se, but kinda this prostitute, which is played by Maria Bello, and they I'm not sure if you call it love, but they're into each other. So she helps him out, and he takes out this syndicate. He kills them all, pretty much, all the main guys anyway. And in the end, he eventually gets his money, and then they leave, and that's the end of the movie. It's okay. It's a gangster story with a happy ending. Usually they don't end in a happy ending. It's very rare. But in this case, it does. At first I wasn't sure I was going to like this movie, but it was alright. It wasn't bad. I give it, I actually thought it was pretty decent. I give it 2 thumbs up. For a gangster movie, it was actually pretty good. It wasn't bad. I like the story. I like the fact that he was smarter than them and kept getting them. So yeah, it was a pretty good movie. Alright, so that's all I have for you this week. Yeah, if you have any thoughts about what I talked about earlier in the video, please leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you could think of any underrated B-rated movies, you know, that no one's ever heard of. You know, that's my jam. Leave your suggestions down in the comment section down below. I'll get to reviewing them as soon as I can. So until next time, I told you be told the truth, and you've just been told.